good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know when or where you're listening to this from, but welcome to the Research Her podcast. This is Alicia, and I'm so excited to bring to you the first episode of the year. I am too excited, and this is the first Her Research Report episode. I'm not sure if you're new to the podcast or if you've been riding with me and just waiting on sis to get her shit together, but I'm here. And to those who are new, this is the podcast where we highlight women of color doing research and the research that impacts women of color. I want to just jump right into things and just tell you, where have I been? I've been gone for a minute. Now I'm back with the jump off, baby, and it's time to get it started. Let me just go all the way back to maybe the last time you heard from me, but essentially since July, I had been full-time writing my thesis, and I had a lot of emotional setbacks, but for the most part, I got my shit done. It's academically. On November 4th, 2019, I successfully defended my thesis and became Dr. Alicia Tanae Franklin. After I defended, I immediately went to Chicago for a few days, but flew out to Dallas where I got to visit my parents. My mom is out there. We went on a spa day. It was the most relaxing, and I needed it. Having just that massage and that facial and someone just going in and, feel like they're pulling some of that stress out your body. It was amazing that I got the opportunity. I had never had no, I can't say that. I got massages in the past, when I went to Thailand, but I had not yet gotten a facial before. So I got my first facial. After Dallas, I actually flew out of Dallas and I went to Cancun, Riviera Maya-ish area for pretty much an extended weekend where I spent some time with my line sisters, and we celebrated our 6th year anniversary, and that was super dope. Don't want to get too much into that, but I had a great time. Flew from Cancun to St. Louis, and I don't know if you are just new to the podcast, but on my last update, I was talking about how I was very nervous about presenting oral presentations at conferences because I had never presented my work really to a room of strangers in a way. I had presented my work to a room of people who were either in my program or people in my research lab, but just a room of complete people that don't know me from a can of paint. I hadn't done it. So when I flew to St. Louis, I went to the conference, NOBASHE, which is the National Organization for the Advancement of Black Chemists and Chemical Engineers. Initially, I was very nervous to present my research because I didn't know what to expect. I thought I didn't have enough slides. The presentation needed to be about 15 minutes, but that included questions. I had maybe 6 to 8 slides. I can't remember off the top of my head. And I just remember thinking everyone whose presentation that I saw was 15, 20 slides. And I'm like, oh my God, these little 8 slides. But it turned out that my presentation went so smooth. I ended exactly at 12 minutes or maybe 10 minutes and still have 5 minutes of questions, where I actually had 5 minutes of questions. People actually engaged in my topic, because when I spoke, I broke it down so much to people who the room was for. So it was full of analytical chemists, but not necessarily people who did mass spec. But it actually turned out that there were a lot of people who did mass spectrometry in the room. So it was just a matter of them understanding lipids and why I want to look at the structure of lipids, and I was really able to give them the information, and the questions that were asked, I was able to nail those. I even had someone who I had been a professor that I had been looking at for a while, asked me a lot of questions, and then afterwards we had a mini little talk, which, yeah, it was all good. It was all good vibes. Maybe we could get into that a little later. After presenting at Nova Shade, I graduated on December 15th. The ceremony was for the College of Science, Engineering, a few schools of engineering, and I was the only Black woman to graduate with a PhD in my ceremony. So I was there to represent. So after graduating, spent a little time in Chicago. Then I went to Waikiki for some relaxation and some healing. That was very soothing. It was probably the reason why I'm as sane as I am now. At the time when it was time for us to plan the trip, I was so nervous about going because I felt so exhausted with life. And I'm like, oh my God, I don't want to go anywhere else. I don't feel like it. I don't feel like it. I just want to sit down and do nothing. But it turns out that vacation was exactly what I needed. I got exactly what I needed out of it. And luckily, I have a friend who knew that I needed it and got me right on out and went to a beach, got some good food, was able to bring in the new year in great weather. Out, because here in this Midwest, that would have not happened. Monday this week, my advisor submitted my manuscript to a mass spec journal. So hopefully we get some feedback within the next few months. It tends to take a little while for those things, but hopefully that is done, and I'll come back to you all with another her research report where I'm saying that it was either accepted, or if it doesn't get accepted, I'll tell you that too. But that's what I'm doing, because everyone keeps asking, so what are you doing now? I'm working on a postdoc at Purdue. The good thing about it is the time span is pretty flexible, where I'm going to probably be here anywhere between 6 months to 2 years, just depending on what I end up finding and where I end up going. I'm still trying to figure all that out. What do I want to do? This really great opportunity presenting itself. And what I've noticed is within the past so much time, I have been kind of doing this self-sabotage thing where it's like great opportunities will come to me and I'm like, no, I'm not ready, or I don't deserve type of thing. And no, baby, I had to remember that I have worked my ass off for this exact moment. I deserve all things that are coming my way. Yeah, I got to get back into the bad bitch mentality, bad bitch mode. Sorry, Nana, if you're there, but I'm working on myself. So the research that I'm doing is based on developing novel ion-ion reactions for lipid analysis. So that's doing ion-ion reactions within the mass spectrometer and just coming up and developing new methods. I want to be 100% real with you all and saying I haven't made any 2020 goals or things I want to accomplish. What my main thing is for this year is to be consistent in all aspects of my life. That is my big thing for 2020, is just if I say I'm going to do it, I do it. And if I know in my back of my head I may not do it, being able to just address it at the time. Honestly, I'm not sure if I'm going to make it, but just give me the information, as opposed to saying, oh yeah, I'll be there, and then end up not showing up, or kind of setting unrealistic goals. And really, I don't want this year to be like this life-changing year. I just want to chill. I really feel like I've spent so much of my life having these goals and crushing them, really, doing things that people my age would not even think about, especially from where I'm from. Just realizing I can exist for a while and have my small little things that I'm doing. Girl, just go to the gym. Get back to meal prepping. watch some Netflix, and watch it without feeling guilt. Like, I remember sometimes like just watching TV and watching Netflix and just feeling like I should be doing something else. I should be working on my thesis. I should be doing so many other things. And the goal this year is to be intentional with relaxation and intentional with when I'm there to have fun, having fun, and not feeling guilt around having fun. I've identified myself so much with my academic accolades and accomplishments, and I don't know if this is weird, but it's time to kind of find the identity in which I am versus the identity in which I am doing. So I spend so much time believing I am what I do. So I'm a chemist, I'm a cheerleader, I am, or the people that I'm around. So I am so and so's daughter, I am so and so's X, Y, and Z, versus like, what is my identity as Alicia? Having people who are from Chicago, where I'm from, telling me like I inspired them to want to wear their natural hair, to want to just be unapologetically themselves, to not feel like they need to wear makeup every time they go out the house, and like constantly people like reminding me how unapologetic I've lived my life and the amount of confidence that I have had in the past, and not losing that, because I do think that, and I speak to it often now, that I really had lost my sense of self throughout the program. Like I had lost like what I wanted to do and who I truly am and all of that. Like it all kind of started fading into like, okay, what do I need to do to be this acceptable black type of thing? And I want to step out of that and get back to being the unapologetic self in which I have spent my whole life being. And now that I am in a space where I can step more into that, I think that in research and in sciences, there are so many like quirky people and people who really get to be themselves, however that looks. I would love to be unapologetically black throughout my pursuit of an academic position or creating my own lab. I want to leave off with a quote. And that quote is, "What you do for yourself dies with you when you leave this world. What you do for others lives on forever." What you do for yourself dies with you when you leave this world. What you do for others lives on forever. And that is by Sir Ken Robinson. I've been thinking a lot about the things that I've done in life and how they have impacted the world. Even if it's just in a little, like, just a little bit, What I've realized is that I have done my community service. I've done things in the past. I know that when it's time to go to heaven, these things that I have accomplished for me, I don't get to take them with me. This is something that I have been marinating on. This quote actually came up during my relaxation time as I was watching Criminal Minds. And it really stuck to me because it was interesting that I had been thinking about this thought, like how selfish would it be if I made certain actions, and what can I do to be sure that I impact someone in some way. And then talking to my aunt and her just reminded me that these things that you obtained, like your degree, that don't go with you when you go, but the ways in which you have impacted society, those are, if you're not, specifically what she said was, if you weren't doing it for God, that it don't count. That's kind of what I want to leave us on. And I hope to come back next week with a little bit more tangible goals. I'm just letting you know, like, I haven't done it yet, but Also, I don't think that January 1st marks the if you don't have your goals by January 1st, you ain't serious about reaching some type of peak heights or whatever. I think that you can pick your goals today. You could pick your goals tomorrow. Shit, you could pick your nose while you pick your goals. But just do what you need to do, I may not have created the goals before coming on this podcast and saying, I'm going to come on here each week and chat it up with you. I think I enjoy much more having these candid. Let me just update you. I already know what I want to talk about for next week when I do my first week post-doc check-in. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you all next week on this Her Research Report and bring to you all more research related to us, more of us who are doing research. And that's all I can promise you right now. That's it. I'll holla.